Okay, so now we've seen how to create
a button.
Let's see if we can make something just a little bit more sophisticated. In this video, we're going to inherit from the controls class to create a list box.
Right.
We've all seen list boxes. Basically, they're just, you know, kind of like a little drop-down box that's always dropped down. So it's a box. And then it's got, it's really nothing but rows.
Yep,
it's just
rows of items.
That's it.
And they could be anything, but in this case, they're text.
That's right. And then you can click on them, and it'll highlight that particular row, and you will obviously in code be able to identify what it is you've just clicked on.
Right.
So we're going to show you guys how to create it. And it's going to be so simple. That's what's so cool about this.
Yes. So let's go ahead and create our 2 files that we need. So we have our, let me guess, ListBox?
ListBox. You so good.
I know.
And the CPP file, which ListBox 2.
Yeah, okay. Just for you.
Yay.
All right, so let me go ahead and do the mandatory, if not define ListBox underscore H. Define ListBox underscore H. And if.
We need to go ahead and include control.
Yep, so let's include control.h. And now let's go ahead and create our class. So class ListBox, exactly like we saw in the last lesson, with public control.
From, public control.
Mm-hmm. And let's define our 2 sections.
Public and protected.
Protected, thank you. So our constructor is going to be our ListBox, and all we need to specify for this is a position and size. So we have our int position x, int position y, and then our width and our height. So just like so. And then we have a few accessor functions and utility functions. We need to be able to add items. We need to be able to remove items. We need to be able to set which item is selected. And we need to be able to get which item is currently selected and get the total size of our list.
That's right.
So those are the functions that we need. So we have our void add item, and we simply pass it a string called item. And then we can remove an item, and we'll remove it via an index. So just pass remove item index. And we need to set the currently selected item.
And we'll do this through index.
Yeah. And then we need to have some accessory functions. So get index and get count. And finally, we need to
go over to controls.h and borrow our update control, draw control, and get type.
Mm-hmm. So here we have these guys.
And then, yes, obviously we'd like to be able to actually make the list box, so we'll take the equal zeros out.
Yep.
And then down up under protected, 2 things that we need here.
Right.
Number 1, we need to keep track of the index.
Right, so which item is currently selected. And then a list of our items.
That's right.
And they're going to be of type string.
So, and since we're now using vector, we need to go ahead and make sure that we include vector up at the top.
Right, so we have include vector and then using std vector.
And we don't need to include strings because that's already been included in control.h.
Right, as you can see right here.
So we're in great shape now.
Yep, so let's go over into our list box and start implementing these. So listbox.h, and let me just copy and paste all of these functions that we need to create over in our header.
And then Joel gets a minute to go and scope everything and block it in.
Yep, so we have scoping.
He is getting dangerously fast. Of course, he just killed the G.
Put it back in, though.
It's such a nice G.
I know. I brought him back to life, though.
Yes, you did. Amazing. But now he's possessed.
Okay.
It's like Stephen King's Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah, long story. Oh, you don't know the story?
No, I don't, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it off camera.
Okay.
Interesting, though.
Yeah, I believe it. So in our list box, we'll do exactly like we did with our button.
Exactly. We need to go ahead and from control, where we're going to pass it the
position X.
That we get in.
And no semicolon. All right. And
well, you can put one, but you're just going to get some incredible errors.
Yeah, and then I'm not going to reach my record again. So the first thing we need to do is specify which index. So we'll default this to 0.
0.
So item 0.
Let's do add index or add item. That's awesome.
This one's really
just going to push it onto the list.
Push back item. Done.
Well, that's tough.
Yeah, I know it was. Index, this one, removing item is a little bit more difficult with a vector, but it's still quite simple. We simply need to loop through every single item. So we'll initialize an I that loops through each index. And we'll do a for and use our iterator. You've seen this numerous times now.
I'm not even going to comment.
Yeah, just don't comment.
Yeah.
IT does not equal items.
So that's not the idea. Yeah.
You're talking.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But now that we're inside here, basically what we want to do is check as we're walking through I, right?
Yep. Is this the one we want to remove?
Exactly.
And then if it is, then items.erase, and then pass it to iterator, and then break out of the loop.
Right.
And then, if not, we need to increment the index.
Now we have a very important thing that we need to add at the end. What happens if the very last item was the item that was being removed?
At this point, the index would be past the size.
Because otherwise we're pointing to an invalid area.
Right. So we need to do a simple check that says if our index is greater than our items.size, then change the index equal to int items.size -1. So there we have it.
Yeah.
And index, this one's really easy, except ours is called index. So index equals I, and done.
Cool.
And get index, very simple, return index. Get count, return int items.size. Froze up for a second there. And finally, our update control. Basically, all we need to do here is update when the user clicks on a certain item, it needs to be selected.
Right.
So first thing is we call our base class
update control, which is going to basically set the state for us.
Right. Well, the inside.
Inside, if it's true or false.
So let's get the current X and Y position of our mouse, because we'll be needing these. Like so. And then if we're inside, so if inside, thank you, equals true, and the button has been pressed, what we need to do is say, okay, which item do we try to select? So we'll create a temp index and then make sure this one's accurate. So temp index equals Y, which is the current mouse position, minus the Y position of our control.
Right.
And then we divide that by our item height. Now, this is another thing we haven't defined yet. Basically, what's the height of each cell,
row.
Each row.
Right.
And we could just use the height of our text if we wanted to, but we're going to define a cell height because otherwise it can get really cramped.
That's right.
So what we're going to do is define a constant int item height, and we'll just initialize this to like 18. And if we come down back to here, temp index now holds the item that we selected, but we need to make sure that they clicked on an item that's inside and not beyond
what
our
if you
list.
had a really tall box with 2 entries in it, and
you click the very
bottom?
Right. It would select something like 15 or something, and you only have 2 items. So we need to say if temp index is greater than or equal to 0, and the temp index is less than the size of our list, then we simply set index equal to temp index and control. And then at this point, if we selected an item, go ahead and return true.
Okay.
Otherwise, return false because we didn't select an item.
Okay.
So basically, the event that we're returning here is on selection, we return true. So with that, let's go ahead and put in get type. So return ListBox. And then in our draw control, almost the exact same thing as in our button. So let me go into our button here.
Literally.
Yeah.
Copy almost like everything.
Yeah, all the way up to there.
Right.
And this is going to do all our blending, draw our area, put our border around our area, etc., etc. So the only thing we need to do is 2 things, actually. Draw which item is currently selected with a quad. Which is
just really going to be a long rectangular selection color.
Right, that's transparent, so it overlays on top.
And then we'll loop through and print out all of our text.
Yep. So let's do the selection thing first. So if index is greater than or equal to 0, so we have a valid item selected. Let's go ahead and print it out. So GL color 4F, and we'll make it kind of dim, but still blue, and at 50% transparency.
Okay.
Let me put in my Fs here. And now we need to calculate where in Y we want to place this. So we know the index.
Translation, where's our row?
Right, yeah, exactly. Thank you. So our current Y equals position Y, which is where our control is located, plus the index, which item is selected, and multiply that by our item height. And you're done. And then you just simply go up here, copy your quad, paste it in here, and everything is the same except for...
Again, there's no text here. It's just a long rectangular selection highlight, basically.
And we just change that to current Y, which we just calculated. and the height of it's going to be our item height.
Awesome. So
and
now
we're done.
All we need to do is create a quick loop that's going to loop through and put our text in.
Yep. So since it's a vector, we can use a integer loop here, and simply I++. Huh. IT.
Don't worry, I wasn't going to let you get far.
Didn't think you would. So let me copy and paste this. Thank you. And we're going to do that gray color, just like in our button. And we'll be at full intensity. Because, again, this is a text.
Any particular reason you're hitting that inside the loop over and over and over?
Oh,
color?
Yeah,
just kind of put that right before.
Right, thank you. And we can just remove the brackets now.
Yeah.
So IGL engine.
This is so easy here.
Yeah, I know. We're going to draw it at position X +2, just to add a little offset.
Otherwise, the text would start right there on the border, and that would not look good.
No. And we're going to add 2 to here, and then add I, the current I loop, multiply that by our item height. And then we'll simply draw the right date item.
Yeah.
Wow. There we have it.
That's it.
Whoa.
Well, not the replace files thing.
Okay. A few more errors than I was intending to have. Cannot convert from int... What? Oh, okay. Constant, no constructor. Initializing cannot convert item height to I forgot my semicolon.
Oh, he did
you didn't catch me.
No, I didn't that time. That's better.
Yeah, and of course we forgot to delete our virtuals.
So much coding.
And the last virtual.
And that should do the trick.
Wow, that was more errors than... That was a record in error numbers. So that's basically it. Let's go ahead and go to our STL demo.
So we now need to go back to the top and include...
Oh, yeah, my bad. Go back to our top and include our listbox.h.
Cool.
And then go back down to our initGL and just create one of these. Let's go ahead
and take that first button out, the one that's all the way over on the right. Yeah. So now you guys will see the spacing between the controls.
And let's create a listbox. Position doesn't matter. And then we'll set this to maybe 200 by 200.
Okay.
So we added one line of text, and we've got our list box. Notice we don't have any items in our list box,
Let's put some items in.
So let's exit out of this, and let's save. Remember, add control returns the pointer to it, so we can say list
box.
names.
Okay.
Names equals, and we're going to have to typecast this to a list box, because it returns a control type, but with inheritance we're allowed to do that.
That's right.
And then list names, we're going to add item, and let's add our names in. Buzz. Let me copy and paste this. Let's just add a few things in here. Joel, Logan, Zach. There we go.
It's almost all. Add Angela in. We've got the entire 3D Buzz team.
There we go.
Sweet.
So everyone is there. Let's go ahead and run that and check it out. We have Buzz. We can select each of these guys, and it works. And we can drag it if we wanted to.
Cool.
Basically, I'm holding the mouse button down. And notice we're prevented from going off screen, if you will.
That's right.
And we can still click on this button. Everything is working as we want, and we have that nice bold outline.
Yep.
So everything is as it should be.
Yeah, that's just absolutely awesome.
Yeah, very much so.
So with that is going to wrap up how to go about creating your very own custom list box.
That's right.
SDL. Thanks a lot, guys.